All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we are going to go through our unit six study guide for measurement. So before you start diving into this video, I want you to get the following things out. One, you need your pencil. Two, you need a highlighter. And thirdly, you need some notebook paper. So I would prefer it to be loose leaf notebook paper. So you're going to need 2 pages of notebook paper to properly show your work for this study guide. So go ahead and pause this video while you get those materials out. And once you are ready, you can press play and we will begin. All right, so the way that I think that would be best served for this study guide is for you to be listening to me reading the question out loud and then pausing the video to solve it and then watching me solve it and check your work against mine. So let's go ahead and get started. So directions, it says solve. Be sure to show your thinking, and calculators are allowed on this practice. So you need to have not only your paper in front of you, but you also need to have a tab open for Desmos. Okay, so here it says right here, use the triangle below to answer questions 1 and 2. So I'm going to use this triangle to answer questions 1 and 2. So number 1 says, what is the perimeter of this triangle? So I have a 7 centimeters, 16 centimeters, and 6 centimeters. And I know that perimeter is the total distance around the shape or figure. So I find perimeter by adding. So go ahead and pause this video and solve number 1. And when you are ready, press play to check to see if your answer is correct. Okay, so number 1, folks, it said find the perimeter to this triangle. So I know that perimeter is adding all the sides. So I'm going to take my 3 sides, which was 6 centimeters, 7 centimeters, and 16 centimeters, and I'm going to add them up. So 6 plus 7 is 13, plus 6 is 19. So I'm going to regroup the 1. And then 1 plus 1 is 29. So my answer to number 1 is perimeter equals 29. And don't forget, it's a measurement, so we need to measure it in centimeters. And that was question number 1. Question number 2 says, find the area of this right triangle. Now, remember, I need you to write down the formula for right triangle. So if the area of a right triangle is area equals, say it with me, length or base times width or height divided by 2. So go ahead and pause the video using this triangle and these measurements to figure out the area of a right triangle. When you're ready, press play. Okay, so number 2. Number 2, I'm going to write that formula, area equals length times width or base times height divided by 2. I'm going to plug in my units. So my length and my width, I got to be careful here because remember, length and width are the 2 line segments that form a square corner. So here's my square corner. So I'm going to be using 6 and 7. So I'm going to type in or write in area equals 7 times 6 divided by 2. And then area equals 7 times 6 is 42 divided by 2. And so therefore area equals 21. But it's, I gotta measure it, I gotta label it correctly. It's 21 centimeters squared. This right here is super duper important. Please do not forget it. So Number two's answer is area equals 21 centimeters squared. Okay, number three. Let's read it together and then pause the video to solve it. Number three says, which of the following are the dimensions? Remember, dimensions are the parts of the shape that we add up. So like the length and the width or the height. So what are the following dimensions of a rectangle with a perimeter of 38 and an area of 70? So I need to make sure that it has a perimeter of 38 millimeters and an area of 70 square millimeters. There are 4 different rectangles that I have to test to see which one matches these 2 criteria. So I'm just gonna put it to the side. Again, pause the video when you're ready to check. Go ahead and check. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and set up my paper. This is number 3. And I'm gonna start with triangle or rectangle A. A has a length of 8 and a width of 8. So that means it's a square. So I'm gonna have a square. It has a length of 8 and a width of 8. So perimeter is all 4 sides added up. So I'm gonna have 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8. And I know 8 plus 8 is 16. Plus 8 plus 8 is 16. And I know that 16 plus 16 equals 32. So let's see here. Perimeter of 38. I have a perimeter of 32. That means it is not A. Letter B. A rectangle with a length of 14 millimeters and a width of 2. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my rectangle. A length of 14 and a width of 2. See if I can make this a little bit bigger. I can get both things in there. All right, cool. All right, so perimeter equals 14 plus 2 plus 14 plus 2. Because remember, even though we only have 2 measurements, we know the opposites are equal. So 14 plus 2 plus 14 plus 2. Well, let's see what we got going on here. So 14 plus 2 is 16. 14 plus 2 is 16. And 16 plus 16 is 32. That is not a perimeter of 38. So I'm going to go ahead and cross out B. So letter C has a length of 14 and a width of 5. So 14 and 5. So I'm going to finish my rectangle with 14 and 5. So perimeter equals 5 plus 5 plus 14 plus 14. So 5 plus 5 is 10. 14 plus 14 is 28. And 10 plus 28 equals 38. So it's looking like this might be it, but I gotta check the area. Because it also has to have an area of 70. So I'm going to take area equals length times width. And area equals 14 times 5. So I'm going to do 14 times 5. 5 times 4 is 20. And so I put the 0, carry the 2. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2 is 7. Oh, area of 70. It looks like C is my answer. But just to be sure that it's not a sneaky question, I'm going to check D really quick. So letter D. Length of 10 and a width of 7. So 10 and 7. So perimeter equals 10 plus 10 plus 7 plus 7. 10 plus 10 is 20. Plus 7 plus 7, which is 14, which equals 34. So yeah, it is definitely not D. My answer is C. My answer is C. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next question. All right, number 4. It says, what would the volume of a refrigerator measuring 3 meters deep, 2 meters wide, and 5 meters high? What would be the volume? What would be the volume of the refrigerator that measures 3 meters deep, 2 meters wide, and 5 meters high? Well, I think, what is the formula for volume? Volume equals, you say it with me? Volume equals length times width times height. So I'm going to pull this data and put it on my paper. So this is number 4. Go ahead and pause the video, solve it. See if you get the same volume as I do. Okay, so volume equals length times width times height. So let's see here. This should be a 2. That's a 3 and that's a 5. So my height is 5. My width is 2. So therefore my length must be 3. All right, so volume equals 3 times 2 times 5. So I need to multiply 2 of my numbers together. So I'm going to say volume equals 6, because 3 times 2 is 6, times 5. So volume equals 30. But I have to label it correctly. How do I label it? I label it in meters cubed. So my answer is volume equals 30 meters cubed. And that was number 4. All right, let's take a look at number 5. Number 5. It says match each situation to the type of measurement needed. So, wood to build a frame around a door. So I'm looking for some keywords. Well, around is a keyword. Number 2, a storage unit for all of Mr. Smith's junk. So if you're not sure what a storage unit is, boys and girls, a storage unit is basically a room for people to fill all their stuff with. So, let's see. Number 3, enough paint to paint Lola's bedroom. So paint to paint Lola's bedroom. So my choices are perimeter, area, and volume. So building a frame around a door, that is perimeter. A storage unit for all of Mr. Smith's junk. Well, it's a 3-dimensional room, right? Because rooms are 3-dimensional and we can fill it up with stuff. Therefore, it's volume. And then painting a wall. Here's a wall. I'm going to paint it. I am covering it with paint. Therefore, it is area. Okay, number 6, 7, 8, and I believe, 6, 7, and 8 are all about elapsed time. So remember, elapsed time, we use a open number line, and we either jump forward or jump back in time. So let's take a look at number 6. A train traveled from Smithville to Hazelwood. It arrived at Hazelwood at 7:25 p.m. If there were no stops and the trip took 8 hours and 40 minutes, what time did it leave Smithville? So remember with elapsed time, I'm going to use this paper right here. We either know a start time, we know an end time, and we have to figure out elapsed time, or we have to figure out one of the ones we're missing. So I know that it arrived at 7:25 p.m. So that's my end time. And I know that it took 8 hours and 40 minutes. So I have to jump backwards 8 hours and 40 minutes to figure out what time it left. So I'm going to jump back. I'm gonna jump back 4 hours. Remember to put the amount in the jumps. So 7 hours, 7 o'clock minus 4 hours. So 6:25, 5:25, 4:25, 3:25. So it's 3:25 p.m. And I'm going to jump in another 4 hours to equal 8 hours. So 3:25. So that would be 2:25, 1:25, 12:25, 11:25. 11:25, but now it's not PM, now it's AM. All right, so I have jumped my 8 hours. Now I have to jump a combination of 40 minutes. So I'm going to start by taking away 25 minutes because I want to get to a friendly number. So I'm going to take away 25 minutes. And now it is 11 a.m. Now, the trip is 40 minutes. So I'm going to take 40 and I took away 25. I'm just going to do some side math right here. So I need to jump backwards 15 more minutes. That's easy. I'm going to jump back 15 minutes. And 15 minutes before 11 a.m. is 10:45 a.m. So that is my answer. It left Smithville at 10:45 a.m. Okay, number 7 says the table below shows the hours for each of the 4 restaurants that are open for business. Which restaurants are open exactly 8 hours and 45 minutes? Put an X next to all the correct answers. So we want to know which restaurants are open for exactly 8 hours and 45 minutes. So I'm going to definitely need nickel paper for this one. Okay. So I have IHOP open from 8:45 to 5 p.m. Bob Evans, 8:15 to 5 p.m. Cracker Barrel open from 9:30 a.m. to 5:15 p.m. and Yorkshire Diner from 9:30 a.m. to 6:15 p.m. So we get some paper. I'll push this up here so I can have some space to work. So I'm going to start with IHOP. Make my number line. And I know it starts at 8:45 a.m. and it ends at 5 p.m. And again, I'm looking for 8 hours and 45 minutes. All right, so I'm gonna go, can't jump 12 hours, that's too much. So let's jump 5 hours. So 5 hours, 8:45 plus 5 hours. So 9:45, 10:45, 11:45, 12:45, 1:45 p.m. And let's see, I can't jump another. Well, let's jump 3 hours. Let's see what happens when I get to 8 hours. So let's jump 3 hours. So 2:45, 3:45, 4:45. So it's 4:45 p.m. So that's 8 hours. But now I need to see how many minutes does it take to go from 4:45 to 5 o'clock, and that would be 15 minutes. So that would be 8 hours and 15 minutes, and that is not what I'm looking for. So it is not IHOP. All right, so now let's try Bob Evans. So we'll just go BE for Bob Evans. Bob Evans opens at 8:15 a.m. and closes at 5 p.m. So let's jump 5 hours. And I know 8:15 plus 5 hours is going to be 1:15 p.m. And I'm going to jump another 3 hours. And I know that when I went from 1 o'clock something plus 3 hours, I got 4 o'clock something. So this is 4:15 p.m. And now I need to go to 5 p.m. So I know there's 15 minutes to get it to 4:30. And then another 30 minutes to get to 5 o'clock. So 5 plus 3 is 8 hours. And 15 plus 30 is 45 minutes. So that is a correct answer. So I shouldn't have X'd out IHOP. I should have said no. Bob Evans is one of my answers. We'll mark it with an X. Okay. Now let's check out Cracker Barrel. Let's see if Cracker Barrel works. So I'm gonna move this paper up a little bit to the side. And let me make my number line. This is CB for Cracker Barrel. Okay, and Cracker Barrel is open at 9:30 a.m. and closes at 5:15 p.m. So let's do some jumping. So let's go ahead and add 5 hours. So 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30, 2:30 p.m. I'm gonna add 3 hours. Let's see. No, I can't add 3 hours. Let's try 2 hours. 2:30, 3:30, 4:30. Well, right here, I know it's not correct because it's 5 plus 2 is 7 hours and I need it to be 8. So it is not Cracker Barrel. But we need to double check, make sure that Mrs. Smith doesn't make a mistake. Let's see if Yorkshire Diner matches our criteria. So Yorkshire is open from 9:30 a.m. to 6:15 p.m. So let's try 5 hours. So that would make it 2:30 p.m. And then let's jump 2 hours. So that would be 4:30 p.m. I can jump another hour, which will make it 5:30 p.m. And then 30 minutes will make it 6 p.m. And 15 would make it 6:15 p.m. 5 plus 2 is 7, plus 1 is 8. And 30 plus 15, we know equals 45. So Yorkshire Diner and Bob Evans are the correct answers. Okay, number 8. Is Addison's alarm clock went off at 5:15 a.m. Addison went to school, lacrosse, practice, and watched a movie before going to bed at 11:28 p.m. How long was Addison awake? All right, let's go ahead and use this paper right here for our number line. So I know her start time. Her eyes opened at 5:15 a.m. And we know that her eyes closed at 11:28 p.m. So we want to know how long was Addison awake. So first thing I notice is that I'm going from an AM to PM. And so I have to ask myself, if I add 12 hours to 5:15 a.m., will that get me, will it be before my end time? And it will be. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump 12 hours. And that would make it 5:15 p.m. So I can't jump 12 hours again. So I'm gonna jump I'm gonna jump 5 hours. So 5:15 plus 5 hours. So 6:15, 7:15, 8:15, 9:15, 10:15. 10:15 p.m. Okay, I can't jump anymore. I could jump another hour actually. If I jump one more hour, that makes it 11:15 p.m. And then now I just have to go from 15 to 28. So I'm gonna add 5 minutes. That makes it 11:20 p.m. And then I'm gonna add 8 minutes for 11:28 p.m. So how long was Addison awake? Let's put it all together. 12 hours plus 5 hours is 17 hours. Oh, no, I'm sorry. 12 hours plus 5 hours plus 1 hour. 12 plus 5 is 17 plus 1 is 18. She was up for 18 hours. Jeez. And then 5 minutes plus 8 minutes is 13 minutes. So the answer to number 8 is 18 hours and 13 minutes. All right, number 9 says 1,000 milliliters equals 1 liter. And it says how many milliliters are equivalent to 4.7 liters. So I'm going to say 4.7 liters equals blank milliliters. So I'm going to look for my big and small. So this liters is big, milliliters is small. So I'm going big, small. I'm going to multiply. Best soccer mom. And I know that 1 liter equals 1,000 milliliters. Okay, so on my calculator, I'm going to type in 4.7 times 1,000 equals, and I'm going to get my answer. So go ahead and type that into your calculator, and then I will reveal your answer. So 4.7 times 1,000. Okay, 4.7 times 1,000. When I use my calculator off screen, I got this answer. I got 4,700 milliliters. That's the answer. Number 10, it says determine the equivalent measurements, write your answers on a line. And they gave us these rules. 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters, and 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. And so we're going to use this information to answer these 2 questions. So since I don't have a lot of space, I'm going to use my notebook. All right, so this is number 10. So 586 meters equals blank kilometers. So big, small, again, I identify my big, small. So meters is small and kilometers is big. So small, big, silly babies dancing. So I know I'm going to divide. So I know that there is 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. So I'm going to take 586 divided by 1,000. So 586. Okay, so I'm going to type it into my calculator off screen. 586 divided by 1,000. I get 0.586 kilometers. So let's see, is that one of our answer choices? 0.586. Yep, it's right here. 0.586 kilometers. Okay, so our second question is 586 meters, but this time they want to know how many centimeters. So I got to identify my units. and what is big and what is small. So I know meters is big, centimeters is small. So big, small, best, soccer, small, I'm gonna multiply. And I know that there is 100 centimeters in 1 meter. So when I go to my calculator and I type in my equation, I'm going to type in 586 times 100. So 586 times 100, it equals 500, let's see, 58600, so 58,600 centimeters. Let's see if that's one of our answer choices. 58,600. Yep, there it is. 58,600 centimeters. Okay. Number 11. It says measure the length of the brick. Measure the length of the brick to the nearest centimeter. Ben has 7 bricks that he must use to create the border of his walkway without overlapping. To create the border of his walkway without overlapping. How long will his walkway be? All right, well, let's see here. I don't have my ruler with me, but I do know that when you measure it using centimeters, it works out to be 5 centimeters. So he has 7 bricks. So that means that his 7 bricks laid end to end. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? This is going to be 5. This is 5, 5, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 5. So we want to know how long is that going to be. So I can go 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, or I could do 5 times 7, and I get 35. So 35 centimeters is my answer, which is letter B. So I believe that's the end of this study guide. So I hope that you did well. Remember, hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. My study guides are very, very similar to what you will see on the test tomorrow. So go ahead and put this away, and when you are ready, go see the substitute, and she will hand you your geology study guide. So I'll see you in a few minutes.